Hello YouTube. I am back to make a video on China manipulation and also crypto strength, crypto theme strength. Um, it's been a while since I made a video. I just been chilling in my Discord, which you can join through the Patreon if you're interested. But just been active in there every day. I just kind of honestly kind of forgot about FinTwit and YouTube a bit. Just kind of focusing on the room, hanging out with the fam. But I do want to drop some stuff even every now and then. So, anyways, we're going to talk about BTCT. We're going to talk about BTCS and crypto and that type of thing. So, anyway, BTCT, massive long. I also been longing the shit out of Foxo very successfully. Past 3-4 trading days or whatever. But yeah, anyway, can talk about Foxo in a different video. I'll talk about BTCT, BTCS. So anyway, China Manip, right? Insane, crazy China Manip. Obviously pretty extended, right? This went from 2.5 up to 5.0. Also, important thing to note, low floats have been weak as shit ever since Black Swan drug, and the entire week after drug was my biggest trading week of the year. Made an absolutely insane amount of money. I did no did no videos on it, but and then I took a break, took a little break after the drug craziness kind of died down, and now I'm back at it. So BCTC, so China Manip. We're gonna talk about the daily a lot about this. Shout out to Mikey Underdog. Mikey Underdog putting me on to his lessons about reading the daily. And I think ever since the drug happened, it kind of had a light bulb moment on how important it is to understand liquidity traps on the daily level, because it's really the same. It's really the same liquidity traps we see intraday, just applied on the daily. You don't even have to massively learn a bunch of new stuff if you've been paying any attention to the things I continuously talk about. But BTCT had a high day clear out right here, pre-market level. So high day clear out, short trap. On the other hand, pretty extended, lots of higher lows. And in a market where a lot of this stuff isn't working very well. However, some important things to note: crypto as a sector is obviously massively picking up. If anyone's been paying attention to the crypto sector ever since Donald Trump got elected, crypto going cray cray. So it's reasonable to think that, hey, maybe there's some liquidity from sector strength coming into small caps. And I kind of hope this continues. I kind of hope we have a new theme. It'd be great to have a new theme of crypto. And I thought that even going into this play, I'm like, yeah, we could see crypto strength get into the market. So that's a bullish factor. Potential crypto strength just based on the market sector. China Manip. Now, this is kind of hard to explain, but I feel like a lot of traders have been in this for a long time successfully will know what I'm talking about, where you look at it, and the book also makes it a little bit easier to notice this. But whenever a China stock or a heavily manipulated or any heavily manipulated low flow stock becomes rigged and becomes under control, there's certain price action and certain level 2 games that repeatedly happen that lets you form a thesis that I believe this stock is heavily controlled, right? There's volume in the stock, there's low float, doing manipulation patterns, right? Like doing these aggressive, from deep support high day swipes that instantly get rejected, heavily controlled lower highs, heavily controlled lower highs, heavily controlled lower highs, right? And you can tell when it does like these this is so hard to tell because the range, by the way, I held 25% up until about the 14s. I did not get above. I think my final sell was like maybe low 14s or something like that. But I sold the vast majority of it here. But yeah, we'll go over this. I tried an initial long off the 1 minute 200. Kind of wishful thinking, hoping it would kind of pivot off of this pre-market consolidation and push. But then it kind of transitioned to a secondary pattern where all the pre-market support levels get swiped, usually hyper aggressively, and then it starts soaking for a rotation. I'll go over some charts This is, this happened on VRAX, this happened on MSGM back in the day, this happened on CING, right? Where a market manipulator is heavily forcing a stock to swipe liquidity, right? In this case, swiping the low a day, this pre-market consolidation liquidity, where it instantly starts soaking the moment after it swipes that liquidity level. So a big part of it, this is like super high risk long, because I'm actually assuming this low isn't going to get taken out. I assume it's going to rotate and squeeze. So anyways, we'll go over the chart. We'll ignore the book for now. Here's Sing, by the way. I was showing some buddies, like, here's the concept in general. By the way, very, very similar dumping action to, you gotta remember these old plays, man. You gotta remember, like, by the way, this is what happened on Sing, in case you forgot. In case you forgot what happened on this rotation, right? But a lot of times it's swiping, in this case, it's intraday support levels, right? High day clear out, short trap, right? High day clear out, heavily controlled lower highs, creates this massive empty air pocket, swipes the lows, bottoms out relatively quickly, and starts to rotate, right? And starts to, sorry, that's the day before. Starts to rotate, right? Here's VRAX. Here's another example. When did this go? The next trading day, 8/19. And this is a good example of, like, because this was monkeypox day where things went really crazy. And we have like 4 stocks gapping up like 250%. High liquidity environment, right? This is one where I longed to get off the 1 minute 200, got stopped out, and I missed this long. And I'm like, damn, like, look how they controlled this walk down past the low at A level, where a lot of people might be risking, right? Instantly starts soaking, and then does the exact aggressive walk down and rotation, right? MSGM, my boy from back in the day. My boy. Another stock that was gapped up a couple 100% going into market open. Same thing, right? Nice little lower high paint, lower high. Nice little lower high paint, aggressive dumping, fake VWAP resistance, aggressive dumping, swipes the lows, rotates back up. Of course, everyone kind of remembers how this stock ended. I mean, at least I hope you do, because it went from $6 to 80. Crazy ticker. Anyways, just letting you know that this stuff does. The thing about that is a lot of this stuff, guys, it gets repeated, but a lot of these like crazy ones, like, yeah, it's happened in the past, but then it also happens every, once every 2 months, once every 3 months, right? It's one of those patterns. It's one of those outlier patterns that you have to remember when you see the price action. Here's the same thing, right? You have this low, but you also have this low and this low, right? These higher lows, aggressive dumping, instantly starts soaking. And then they had a 420 bidder holding. This is where I was longing into the play. It's 420 bidder kind of holding. And then nice little soaks on this, because this was getting a little dicey with the higher low buildup. But I was like just in my room. So in my room, what was I saying in the pre-market? The first thing I pointed out in the pre-market was crypto theme, right? Let's go to /BTC. In case you guys don't know what the crypto is doing. Here's the weekly on BTC. Here's the breakout, right? Sector strength, potential sector strength, right? And we haven't really seen crypto small caps get ignited in any ultra meaningful way ever since this, this pump, this recent pump started pushing. Let's go to the daily. And you got to go to like the 3-year. Got to really zoom out on this play. So in the pre-market, I knew it was in the high 4s, and I'm like, oh, look at all these. When I look at the daily, and I mentioned, by the way, I do a lot more videos on my Patreon. The big one, I do a big Sunday review where I kind of go over a lot of these concepts, but across all the plays of the entire week, with notes that I'm taking on the side that lets people kind of, see what I'm thinking. And, we'll go to drug really fast. I'll show you I'll show you why I thought this daily was crazy, right? Because, again, in the pre-market, we're in the 4s. I'm like, all right, we're in the 4s. But I know a lot of the strongest dailies, again, happen on these down onlys. Here's it hitting the 200 EMA. These down only moves creates these massive air pockets. What else do we have? We have some painted lower highs. Where are these painted lower highs? 6, 5.8, 5.8, right? So 5.8 to 6. A lot of painted lower highs, but then above 6, I'm looking from here to here. I'm like, look at that, just an empty ass air pocket. There's like no significant trading happening that happened at that level, right? If we go to drug, let's go to our boy drug. Let's just look at this. It was the same thing, right? So first of all, drug above 2.5 to 6.5, just an empty ass pocket. Big empty ass pocket. And then once we got above 6.5 and 7.3s, we have another massive down only air pocket. No significant consolidation. Nothing but longs getting shaken out, right? Not going to be a lot of bag longs at these areas when the stock goes, 80, 90% down only, zero consolidation. And look at the airs. And then we got above 25, and then we have all the way up to 40. Man, like drug was an insane chart. Everything about this daily. This is like GOAT daily. Like look at the weekly. It's GOAT daily. A lot of these black swan squeezes don't just happen out of nowhere, man. It's a lack of longs, bagged longs from previous trading history, which often means a lack of. Because why does the stock go up? A stock goes up because the amount of people buying is greater than the amount of orders on the books sitting on the ad. We learned about this HKD, right? The good old HKD. What caused this to happen? An empty ass order book, right? Right, an empty, only traded, was not trading in crazy volume, but order book was just empty, man. It was just an empty fucking order book, and as long as people are buying, at greater levels than what's on the ask, then it will go up. Very simple. So anyways, BTCT. Anyway, go back to this. So yeah, as we saw with those charts I just showed you on MSGM and VRAX and, all those plays, I was expecting this to bottom relatively early, right? Tried off the 1 minute 200. I thought maybe it would pivot off of 430s or something and rotate, but then a big thing we always learn is as stocks get more extended, right? Especially here's the extension. It kind of started at 2 yesterday. Now we're all the way up to 5 in a market conditions where things aren't really pushing too strongly. But on extended tickers, the most common way they tend to go up is some type of long trap in what I call long trap in the short trap, where you get like an initial crazy bullish move that fails, usually traps a bunch of longs, gets a bunch of shorts that they'll load in, right? Usually forms another lower high. So we got look at the painted lower, just like MSGM. Look at the painted lower highs, painted lower highs, painted lower highs. Some nice painted lower highs, big 4.8. So not surprising at all. When I see this, I messaged a trading friend right as it was popping into the 4.5 to 4.6. I was like, BTCT up halt. Like I knew the up halt level was at 530, 535. I'm like BCTC up halt because of a possible China Manip, Bitcoin strength, all that stuff, but also the painted levels and volume, fucking crazy volume, super painted levels. Order book wasn't that stacked. We can look at the book on this stuff. Order book not really that stacked. But to be perfectly honest, this was one of those things where I was mostly reading the level 2. But it doesn't matter because they did have bids down here. So yeah, here's that first long trap push. Of course, the problem in here is almost 0 bids following the sub, 0 bids following the sub. I did see them throw some ask up here that they were pulling. That's kind of gave me another reason to long off the 1 minute 200. I knew it looked super controlled. You could see the lower highs be very, very, very controlled going in here. But yeah, I saw this pop on no bids. A single bidder gets pulled up. We get a nice 10% move that has 0 bids following it up. I'm like, that's not great. And they come back down. I'm like, oh man, I better, and I knew this low becomes a massive target. So I was like, let me just tighten my risk up. That probably wasn't really the move to go in long. So I got out, They sell into the actually. A lot of times this could be a good thing when big bids are getting sold into. So shows possible absorption by the market maker, especially after the massive down only, right? A lot of the best moves to the upside have these very algo-driven dumps, right? These like algo-driven, where the market maker again, you're trying to figure out what his intention is, right? It's like when a market maker you can see how instant it is. This is why Bookmap is a lot better than 1 minute candles. You get to see how instantaneous the algo just turns on. Like, okay, we're going to bring it up to this 480 level, and we're just going to trigger like a couple 100,000 shares straight into the bid to like just force this straight fucking down. Force this straight down, right? I like seeing the force. I like seeing, because every time I do that, I'm like, okay, like if I'm bullish the overall structure, based on things I know that happened in the past, like what's a possibility that, what type of liquidity levels is the market maker targeting? Where could they possibly be soaking? I remember, and then VRAX is one of those ones. A lot of the charts I remember when I bring up old charts, by the way, is of plays that I missed. And I always go back, I was like, what was the liquidity thesis that made me miss VRAX or MSGM? Like what was I not seeing in terms of like market maker manipulation, what their intention is, what liquidity levels where they go swipe, that type of thing. Here's this 420 bidder holding, by the way. This is what I was watching this, super fucking close. And yeah, this is by the way, if you're gonna chase off of this was like a 47K bid that came in here to initiate this. If you're gonna long through this, if you're gonna long off of some crazy ass bid, because we kind of had like a 4.5 painted fake $half resistance level, right? That knifed back down into the zone. It's nice to see the zone being the top of these lower highs, pretty much into where the higher lows are. It's nice to see those zones hold. That's more of a Mikey read. But big bid does not always mean smack, a bunch of shares because it's going to go up, right? I don't want the lesson here to be, if you're going to start using Bookmap and stuff like that. 47K bid, I'm going to market order because that's a bullish thing. And the truth is, it's not. There's many times where big bids show up, and there's no reaction, right? Stuff I covered in my Sunday reviews a lot, probably stuff I covered in my old YouTube videos. But I will say, in terms of the big bids that work, you need some type of ideally short trappy structure with good volume to fit the thesis that this could squeeze, little high day clout short trap, nice painted lower highs, China manip value. I mean, you could just tell how manipulated this fucking. Look at this fucking thing. I don't even need to read the level 2 to know this is. As soon as I know it's China manip, I'm like, okay. By the way, China manip is like my biggest winners this year by far. Like, if there's one thing that I would almost consider my bread and butter, it's devising intention and understanding liquidity traps of China manipulation. Doesn't mean I'm always right, but I will say my biggest winners are by far those stocks. But yeah, big bid. Assuming structure is amazing, volume's amazing, thesis is great, the daily's great, all that stuff. Big bids in this situation should have an almost instantaneous reaction. When I saw this 47, because keep in mind, I always say, what's the bearish thesis? Bearish thesis is just kind of propping on higher lows here, propping on higher lows. So if I see a big bid here, I'm like, well, I don't want it to break this bid and 10-15% knife candle through all these higher lows, right? I'm scared of that. So when I see a big bid come in like this, ideally, it has almost an instantaneous reaction. That's the most ideal situation. It's like an almost instantaneous reaction, which it did. Squeezed straight up, not even surprised by the uphaul. And then what gave me conviction in holding, again, was the daily. This is what I learned from Mikey Underdog, Mikey Mad Dog. There's, especially on the penny names where that's like his bread and butter. He will, he'll hold for, in the right penny play for, 50, 80, 100% moves. And a lot of that is driven by the daily, right? And just how we went over the daily on this. So I was like, oh man, like $10 is on the table. But the reason I sold really heavy in the 8, because usually this triple up halted, And stocks usually don't quadruple up Paul or quintuple up Paul. They usually don't. They usually have a big fat fucking blow off move. Um, so sorry, that's not even the right one. That's not even the right triple up halt. It had double. They had two triple up halts. What a crazy ticker. What I missed is this was actually a great chase entry because a lot of shorts cannot help themselves. When they see a triple up halt and a stock starts showing weakness, they just cannot fucking help themselves. Which it rightfully so, because there's actually massive reward potential to the downside, right? But at the same time, shorts are going to be interested in playing the stock, at least from my perspective, right? And look at the book right here, right? This is potential. They had this painted $8 level, right? Painted $8 from this double top, attacks at $8, fills a bunch of asks with minimal bids to the upside. Even though a lot of times on these like crazy liquidity squeezes, I think the market makers just know how much trapped liquidity is in the stock. Where I think a lot of these moves are just like, hey, there's an insane amount of trapped liquidity, whether it's on the daily, whether it's on intraday. We're just gonna market order this shit straight up, dude. Like, but this was a nice little. So this was like another potential long trap and short trap move. 8.4, I believe the high was 8.6 or something. Starts to show weakness. Soaks back up. This starts to another lower high, and then they start stacking the bids. This was actually, in retrospect, a great chase entry. By the way, it went up 100% from this entry. Should have added everything back. That was, you can always look for areas to improve on these names. The most difficult part always, always, always is that the ones with the greatest potential do not show up every single day, right? A thing we talked about in my room before. This is a quote from Kwalamagi. Kwalamagi said, because he made like $10 million on DWAC, but he could have made like $40 million on DWAC. That's the thing. And he said, even though he made so much money, he said, when everything is lining up, whether it's some type of macro thesis, catalyst thesis, daily thesis, manipulation thesis, volume, chart paint, whatever it is, the best plays have a very unique combination of factors that is, all coming together at the same time to support that you can realistically see even before going into the trade. That can expand your thinking, right? And that's why Kwalamagi said, and of course DWAC was Trump pump. It was the greatest Trump pump there was, right? Trump's back. You know what I mean? It was a sector theme and a Trump theme and an insane daily, and everything about it was insane. A true combination, a unique combination of factors. And he said, the biggest edge you can have in these situations is imagination. You have to be able to see the potential of a truly unique situation that massively deviates from what normally happens, right? And being able to size in and hold accordingly is something that's truly special, right? It's something I'm always thinking about. Really knowing, the best. I have trading friends who, have incredibly low win rates, super low. I'm talking like some of these guys, I'm talking like 10% win rates, but they are guys that are so wildly successful. In terms of making many millions per year, every year, including having trades. I'll have like $5 million profit trades and stuff like that, just because they're able to see the uniqueness of a situation and they're able to be ultra aggressive and hold. Even though, it's, these guys are up $2 million unrealized profit and they're holding for $5 million, stuff like that. Truly, there's some unique individuals out there who are just absolute monsters. And there's stuff to learn from them. Anyway, crazy ticker. And I'll show you my other chart. So this is a little bonus for anyone. Shout out to people who stay to the end of these videos, man. I imagine it's like fucking less than 10% of people. So it's probably like 50 people or less. But let me go over BTCS. A pattern I personally kind of really love. I guess I gotta show you my chart really fast. This is another pattern we talk about in the Discord. This pattern is called long at the top. Long at the top. Long at the top is such a funny pattern. By the way, it's completely book map dependent. I do not see how you even remotely trade this pattern successfully without the book. But yeah, as the name implies, you're longing near at the top of a push. But what are some other factors that can help? And I'll go over the bookmap stuff. But what are some other factors that can help with this type of thesis? Right? You can look at daily for some clues. Right? Above 2.5, we kind of have a lot of empty room up to $4 until again, look at this down only dump right here on the weekly. Right? Into this consolidation in the threes and the fours. So that's always nice to see, but most importantly, we'll go directly to the book in this situation. Big volume coming in. Always nice to see big volume coming in. Nice fat wick. I think this went from 3.3 all the way down to 2.7 and then started ramping back up. But yeah, go to the book. BTCS. Very simple. Also, getting back to that lesson I just talked about with BTCT is, so here's that crazy knife, 3.4 down to 2.8 or whatever. And then this was my long. This was my long. Usually the best books, multiple layers of bids getting stacked and having those bids get instantly respected and an almost instantaneous reaction. By instantaneous, I actually don't mean 0.1 second. I mean usually within 15, 20, 30 seconds, you get a push off those bids, right? So, by the way, DEVS did this in the pre-market a couple days ago at 4:30 in the morning. So it's a pattern that can work in the pre-market really well, but it's usually a combination of also BTCS, bit of a sympathy to BTCT in that crypto theme, right? Now, sympathy plays aren't nearly as hot as they used to be 3-4 years ago. I feel like too many people caught on to the fact that you can just oh, that's a crypto stock that's up 500%. Oh, this one's up only 50. Okay, time to smack, and the thing would go up 3x. You get a 300% return or whatever. It was kind of too brain dead and obvious, and I think market makers just adjusted for it. That's honestly what I think. They just adjust for it. But it doesn't mean it can't work. It doesn't mean... Also, I did like the fact that this was kind of day one of a potential crypto thing emerging. We'll see how it shakes out over the next couple of days. I'm sure a lot of people are going to be looking for the next BTCT long side. But maybe we could get some nice. It'd be nice to see pre-market continuation pick up in low floats or crypto names. That'd be really sweet. But yeah, anyway, usually you want multiple layers of bids. Empty book to the upside, big ramping, increasing volume, nice little short trap, quick dumps like this again. The quick dump. You get back to BTCT quick dump, and yeah, just smack. It's up halted, and then this one. BTCT was getting, ultra crazy extended. And I was I'm just going to sell. Oh, by the way, little trick. BTCT and BTCS on strong stocks and stronger markets. A lot of times when you get these up halts that open lower, they could be really short trappy and they could just keep pushing. It's one of those ironic things. Massive gap ups and up halts have a lot of risk of just instantly down halting again, but somehow counterintuitively, in stocks that open lower in their indications have potential to push higher. Especially if there's other bullish factors present. So, anyways, that's it for today. Hopefully that was helpful, YouTube. Join the Patreon if you actually want to listen to my thoughts on a daily basis. I usually do some type of pre-market analysis, and especially if we're getting midday stocks rotating and squeezing. If the market is showing midday continuation as a thing, I also will make comments on midday setups and midday plays. But yeah, anyway, that's it. I'm stretching. That's it for today. You guys have a good one. See you around.